Hey friends, welcome to Living the KG Life, a pixie dust-filled podcast. We are so excited to be here to kick off Mouse Madness 2022, our bracket-style tournament featuring your favorite Disney movies. What we're going to be doing throughout the month of March is we are going to be dropping special bonus episodes talking all about the tournament. So we're going to do kind of like a recap of the previous week and then a look ahead or a preview for the next week. All the details that you need on the Mouse Madness tournament can be found on our website, livingthekglife.com, or we'll be sharing a ton on our Instagram at livingthekglife, so make sure you're following us there as well. As a reminder, before we jump into any breakdowns of these matchups, all of the winning movies will be moving from round to round based on voting on our Instagram stories. So unfortunately, I have no say over which movies go forward to the next one. It's all going to be based on polls. So you're going to want to make sure you keep your eye out on our Instagram stories and vote. Let's jump right in and see what we've got going on for week one. Kicking off the tournament, week one is definitely going to be the most and kind of the toughest. There are 64 movies going head-to-head in 32 matchups. So what we did is we broke the whole tournament down into 4 divisions. We've got the classics, the post-2000s, live action, and then Pixar. So we know these matchups are not going to be easy, and we've heard loud and clear from everyone filling out their brackets so far that there are some really tough matchups. So let's take a look at what we think are going to be some of the toughest matchups in week one in each division. In the classics, honestly, they're all going to be tough. We just really have been so lucky to be in a time with Disney movies where they just knew how to tell a great story. The animation has grown leaps and bounds, and so many of them for me were what I grew up with. So I think they're all going to be tough. But for me, I really think that the toughest matchup is probably going to be Beauty and the Beast versus Hercules. And if we look at when they came out, both 90s movies, right? Beauty and the Beast came out in 1991. Hercules came out in 1997. So great nostalgia movies for me. Beauty and the Beast is always going to be one of my favorites. Hercules, always going to be a fantastic story. But I think it's going to be a really tough matchup, especially for us 90s kids that grew up here. I'm pretty sure my friend Meg is probably still never going to forgive Jimmy and I for putting these two together right off the bat in the first round. So I'm dying to see what happens there. The whole classics right off the bat, round one, but definitely Beauty and the Beast and Hercules. I'm going to have my eyes on it. Now, in the post-2000s, I think this is a matchup that we have probably heard the most about and the most stress over from people, which is Frozen versus Encanto. Sorry about that. So we've already seen that there is kind of these two Herculean, if you want to go back to our last pairing of movies. Frozen was like the smash of 2013 and has continued to be a long-standing potential franchise as we see how far they go from here. And Encanto is the newest. It's the most exciting. There is so much hype around this movie. Everybody's loving it. Everybody's talking about Bruno, and it's just going to keep going. We've even seen that We Don't Talk About Bruno, the song, has actually surpassed Frozen's Let It Go. So there's been even a lot of talk of the two in a matchup already. So very curious to see what happens here. I'm also very curious to see what the actual split is because so many people have said they really struggled picking one of the two. So that's when I'm really excited to see what happens there. Now, in the Pixar division, Pixar does such a good job in all of their movies of like hitting you right in the feels, right? Like they really get deep in a story. They actually get you to think about your feelings and your emotions and relationships. So in that division, the matchup of Coco versus Up is another really tough one for me. They both, again, hit you in the feels. They've got these themes of family and relationships, even kind of moving on in life. So I think that's going to be a tough one for people. And I think people also have really emotional attachments to both of those movies. There was a fairly good gap there, right? Up is from 2009, Coco's from 2017. So Up has a little bit a little bit of a leg up on Coco in terms of length of time, but Coco has just really resonated with so many people. So curious to see how you guys handle that matchup in round one. And then for our live action, another highly anticipated 90s matchup that we've heard a lot about from folks is Hocus Pocus versus The Parent Trap. So again, us 90s kids, these are tough matchups. We've got Hocus Pocus from 1993 and then The Parent Trap from 1998. So again, big 90s hits. They kind of stretch across all different generations even, right? Like you might have some really important or, close family memories watching both of those movies. So I'm curious to see what happens with that one. Totally different stories, totally different themes, same kind of time era, but really those 90s kids. I'm really sorry for putting you through so much turmoil in round one, but I think it's going to be really, really fun. The other thing that we've talked about is seeing what the sleepers are going to be for round one. So what are those movies that might surprise you in a matchup that are actually going to make the move? Now, as we talked about in post-2000s, Frozen and Encanto is going to be tough. But I actually think that Encanto might take it in this bracket. I think the advantage there for Encanto is that it's new. Still a lot of hype. Everybody's still watching it. Everybody's still really excited about it. Where Frozen has been like the it girl for a long time, as Katie Vining said. It's been around. Everybody really loves it. There's even a second movie that everybody really loves so much. But Encanto might surprise everybody and might actually make it out of the first round and leave Frozen in the back. So we'll see what happens there. In the Pixar division, I think another matchup that will be very interesting to watch is going to be Inside Out versus Finding Nemo. Now, this one has a little bit more of a gap where Finding Nemo is from 2003 and then Inside Out is from 2015. So again, about a 12-year gap between those two movies, but they both, again, really have these special Pixar stories of emotion and family, and they just tell those stories in a way that you can connect to them. I personally love Inside Out so much. I could watch it nonstop. And prior to Inside Out, I probably could have done the same with Finding Nemo. So I'm very curious to see what you all think about that matchup in the Pixar division. Inside Out or Finding Nemo? Let's see what happens there. In the live action division, one that I'm very curious to see as well is the Pirates of the Caribbean, so from 2003, and then Angels in the Outfield, which is, again, so many great 90s hits coming out of Disney, okay? This is from 1994. Angels in the Outfield is another movie that I think so many of us can really relate to. The story, just the good vibes that you get from watching that movie. But Pirates of the Caribbean is a smash franchise from Disney, right? You can see it in the parks. You can see it everywhere. So we'll see what happens there. Is it going to be the smash franchise that's going to win? Or is it going to be this, feel-good 90s movie out of Disney that's going to take it with Angels in the Outfield? And our last matchup for round one that I'm really excited and kind of curious to see what happens with is in the classics. We've got Sleeping Beauty versus a Goofy movie. This is one of the matchups that I think actually has the biggest gap. So Sleeping Beauty is from 1959. A Goofy movie is from 1995. So kind of the flip of the two. So we've got a 36-year age gap. We've got a whole KG life age gap between these two movies, right? And the story is so different. The animation is so different. The timing and the era is so different, but they're both classics. I am curious to see if it's going to be kind of the princess vibe that's going to win, right? The make it pink, make it blue. Everyone loves Aurora, the fairies, Maleficent, the whole story. Or are we going to see the cult classic come back, right? Again, our generation loves a good cult classic, loves a good story. And we all love a Goofy movie. You can even still see Goofy and Max in the Disney parks today. So we know that a Goofy movie and that whole storyline is still really strong. So even though there's a big age gap and a lot of differences between the themes and the story and the movie and how they work, I think that's going to be one to keep an eye out for. So that's our thoughts for week one of Mouse Madness 2022, hosted by Living the KG Life. Remember, these matchups are just going to get tougher as we go. So you want to make sure that you're voting for your favorite. Just get everybody out there. We want this to be a really fun tournament where we've honestly been blown away by how excited everybody has been by this and how engaged everyone has been. So we are really looking forward to what happens for the next few weeks. If you have any questions about Mouse Madness as a whole, you can check out the frequently asked questions section on our website, livingthekglife.com. You can send us a DM on Instagram at livingthekglife, or you can even send us an email, livingthekglife@gmail.com. We'll make sure to drop all of those in the show notes, so don't feel like you have to write them down or remember them. You'll be able to find them more easily. But we, again, are so excited and really thankful for everyone participating in Mouse Madness. And we'll see you over the next couple of weeks. Stick around. It's going to be great.